Q-Tan needed a miracle to stay in power. Outside the great dome of the Galactic chambers, billions protested the government she was so desperately trying to prop up. Fiery speeches and clever human subterfuge were wreaking havoc on the entire galaxy's ability to wage war. She had hoped the destruction of Madrius would galvanize support within the galaxy, giving them one final resolve to destroy the humans. For a time it was like this, and she used emergency powers to retain her position as the High Counselor. The assault on the Trappist system was meant to both demoralize the humans and make her populace forget her scheming. Her plans went horribly wrong the second the first glassing bolt was fired. Trappists' planets were protected by planetary shields. No bombardment could get through. Eventually, scientists figured out how to get slow-moving transport craft through the shield. Thus began the most disastrous ground invasion in all of history. Log update, High Counselor Q-Tan, 14th day of impeachment hearings. Over 5 billion troops were sent in the first wave. Only 2 billion reached the surface. We kept pumping more and more resources into the planetary invasion, but the humans wouldn't give up. For the first few days, we had success after success. We secured a landing zone and gained a foothold. Our troops marched through deserted street after street. The expanse of the Ecumenopolis seemed overwhelmingly abandoned. After one human week, things changed. Our troops, now numbering 50 billion, began encountering stubborn militia. People decided not to leave their homes, but instead to stay and fight. Their weapons vastly overpowered ours, destroying warrior and machine alike in single shots. They struck from everywhere: street corners, the tops of high-rises, in crudely armored vehicles, in the sewers from stores, and even inside the desecrated hulks of abandoned cars. Casualties were enormous. Over 1 billion each day would perish at the hands of the militia, and yet we pushed on. This militia got more desperate, deliberately strapping explosives to themselves, buildings, cars, destroying entire legions of infantry in single attacks. They sacrificed their own lives to buy more time for the coming storm. On the third week, our troops had reached one of the gargantuan industrial rings of the planet city. There, our troops were greeted with hell. Tanks, airplanes, artillery, bombs, anything you could imagine, they hit us with it, hard. Then came the drone swarms, indiscriminately firing at anything that moved, decimating our supply lines and troop columns. The skies rained death, and the ashes of our troops choked the sky. Human militia proudly stood at the gates of this great factory. Emboldened by their new toys, they smiled in the face of death and spat at us with never-ending volleys of gunfire. In just 3 weeks, we were pushed back off the planet. Of the 150 billion we sent throughout the invasion, none survived. The populace once again turned against my government. The situation is so dire that the long-ago forgotten articles of impeachment have been rediscovered and pushed forth by my council. End log. High Counselor Q-Tan, your research lead is on the line. Her stupor was interrupted, and she stammered a hasty reply. What? Your research lead is on the line. Oh, patch him through. Static filled the brain of Q-Tan as the neuroline was connected. Seconds later, she heard the ecstatic ramblings of her researcher. Blah, blah, blah. Humans. Blah, blah, blah. Legal precedent. Blah, blah, blah. Extreme council decision. In layman's terms, Q-Tan interrupted. Get down to the council library now. You need to see this. Q-Tan nodded to her security detail, and he punched in some numbers on his wrist pad. She felt her body transform into pure information before being rematerialized in the library. Grand arches lined the ceiling of the seemingly infinite white room. Server racks surrounded every corridor in almost every visible direction. She was slightly annoyed that the researcher would take her this far back into the reaches of galactic history, not even bothered to be taught in schools. What could be so important down here? Mumbled Q-Tan as she began to walk down the immense corridor, scanning each branch for any signs of her researcher. High Counselor! Over here! Q-Tan stopped and looked towards the creature prodding at one of the countless servers. An immense sense of anger filled her mind. Surely nothing important is here. This better be worth my time. It is, I promise you. Q-Tan walked to the data terminal that the young researcher was working on and began to gaze upon its content. She shoved him out of the way and began to read the article he had been deciphering. Discovery of sentient animal life. Galactic Council record approximately 4,000 years ago. Today we deliberate on the correct path forward from this discovery. The crusade to cleanse habitable worlds of any and all possible predators has been going on for millennia, yet we never thought we would uncover any sentient life. Yet on this fateful day we have. Galactic law prohibits the genocide of any sentient life. However, it has no definitive answer on the rights of sentient animal life. Clause E279 of the Bill of Rights for Intelligent Species states no plant life that shows the potential of developing intelligence may be interfered with. No extermination of intelligent life may be undertaken without reason or probable cause. Any extermination of a given species must be authorized by both the Galactic Council and Acting High Counselor. The debate regards whether or not a species being an animal is justification enough to eradicate it. It is known that this species possesses intelligence and has not acted aggressively towards our republic in any way. However, the planet is a very desirable one for colonization. It is unlikely that our very different civilizations could peacefully coexist. Until a unanimous vote can be reached, a quarantine zone around the system will be enforced, and no record of its existence will be spread to the public. Extermination protocols enacted. Special measures have been put in place to ensure the delicate ecosystem of Earth will not be destroyed. Regrettably, this means the non-sentient animal life of the planet will be left unchecked. This will be corrected over a prolonged time. The pristine and diverse biosphere of Earth will be left unharmed. The humans will not be so lucky. Ground troops have been mobilized and dispatched to the planet's surface. Many of the largest civilizations on the planet are being destroyed. Stragglers will be picked off at later dates. There have been some reports of organized resistance slowing our advance. Rumors have begun to spread amongst the troops of our technology being used against us. Our generals and officers on site reassure us that these are but baseless rumors. We mourn the loss of intelligent life, but are certain that we have made the right decision. An intelligent predator species given enough time would wipe us off the galactic stage, which can't be allowed to happen. Troops refuse to continue extermination. The war effort has been put on hold as the armies invading Earth are refusing to mow down the humans. Below is the testimony of a general who spearheaded the mutiny. I didn't think about it all that much at first, no different from any other extermination. That was before I marched through the first couple of cities. It was like looking at some textbook about early civilization, just reversed. I saw things that I never thought were possible for animals. Their cities were immense and filled with life and hope. They all worked and toiled away, making progress inch by grueling inch. And we just mowed them down. Have you bureaucratic fucks ever seen the look of fear on someone's face before you obliterate them? The horrifying screams of a mother losing her children? Families running to find shelter that doesn't exist? Because now I have, and so have my troops, I'll send you the videos we have, and then you tell me how this war is justified. This is a mindless slaughter of innocent people. This is genocide, and I won't be a part of it any longer. We've received the videos, and are entering another state of deliberation to determine the correct path of action. Withdrawal of troops, destruction of all evidence. The Council has decided to end the extermination of humankind after careful deliberation on the best way forward. Troops have been withdrawn from the surface, and cultural teams are working hard to erase all knowledge of these events from the human historical record. Multiple council members have resigned in shame, suicide rates among soldiers have gone up 200%, and the civilian population is beginning to ask questions. The weight of what we have done has begun to show through studies on human development. They have been reverted to a pre-civilization society and will take centuries to recover. We must take extreme action to prevent future atrocities, but how far we are willing to go in this regard is currently locked in heated debate. Information leaked to the public. All hell is broken loose, entire star clusters are in revolt, and the loyalty of our military is in question. The debate has entrenched itself into a stalemate between two extremes: total genetic manipulation into passive and restricted species, or the dismantlement of the entire galactic government. Our entire legacy has been put at risk through our insolence. I hope now that our descendants will not have to endure a great reckoning sometime in the future. Something must be done, or the entire galaxy will devolve into a realm of petty states and war. Complete genetic modification. The genetic hardliners have won. This will be our last record of council proceedings. The entire galaxy will undergo forced genetic manipulation into pacifistic, docile, and weaker species. Our technology will be fundamentally limited, and our history will be replaced with the truth hidden under miles of firewalls. If you are reading this log in the future, I hope you are in a better circumstance than we are in now. However, the old genetic blueprints, ship designs, and unrestricted weapons technology are found below. Just realize that such power must not be used to destroy beings undeserving of such terror. May history shine kindly upon you, unlike us. Genetics, data encrypted. History, data encrypted. Ship designs, data encrypted. Unrestricted tech, data encrypted. What have they done? Jill's body ached immensely. The doctors cleared her of everything serious, but that didn't stop the pain. It shot through her body with every single step. Painkillers weren't an option, at least not today. She steeled her face into a strong, confident smile as her security detail opened the wide double door in front of her. A surge of wind took hold of Jill. She remembered simpler times of peace and prosperity, but today she needs strength, not her nostalgia. She felt uplifted by the warm autumn breeze, and fiery confidence filled her heart. She swept her eyes over the bustling street in front of her. Countless journalists and spectators lined a long, prepared path to her awaiting hovercopter. Past all that, she looked towards the towering skyscrapers and glorious skies. Unbridled humanity was everywhere in this beautiful world. She was back home, on Earth. She and her security strode confidently out onto the path. Millions of onlookers yelled and hollered in jubilant celebration of their president's return. Jill noted that this ravenous excitement was contained only by a steel barrier, manned by a skeleton crew of soldiers. Luckily for her, the crowd appeared to be content with the barrier's existence. As of now, the masses were respecting her and her soldiers' authority. As Jill walked down the path, flags of the Republic were unveiled and began to wave. It was a well-choreographed dance of nationalistic zeal. The bright stars of the flag shone confidently in the rays of golden sunlight. The dark blue background shimmered and waved in the wind, and the crowd got louder. The roar of the crowd was only overcome by the boom of gunshot salutes as Jill walked by the soldiers. They rose their rifles in a dignified and sacred manner, then pierced the noise with a cheer for their commander-in-chief. With each gunshot, the crowd grew louder until not even the gunshots could be heard over their ravenous cry. Jill reached the end of the path and gave a final salute to the citizens and soldiers around her before stepping into her hovercopter. As it lifted off into the rays of noon sunlight, a 21-gun salute was fired in her honor. The audience was enthralled by an overwhelming sense of pride, and human morale reached a new high. As Air Force One took off from the Cairo spaceport, Jill leaned back in her chair and took in the view. The green farms of the Sahara were as beautiful as they were boundless, replaced by the urban sprawl of sub-Saharan Africa and eventually the blue seas of the ocean. Her journey was much more important than a mere nationalist show. She was traveling to the immense bureaucratic facility of what used to be Antarctica. From there, the entire human republic was governed. Today, a hearing was taking place regarding the fate of Admiral Krieger. He had returned to Seoul within the last 6 hours and was being detained in the chamber hall. Jill had every intention of pardoning him, but wanted to give the impression that she was willing to court-martial him. She couldn't afford him going rogue again. "Ma'am, landing in 30 seconds, good luck." "Thanks for the safe flight, Charlie. Find a hotel, it'll be a long night." "I know, don't worry about me, fight the good fight." Jill gazed towards the horizon, yet as far as her eye could see, there was only a singular massive building. From this vast speck of light on the blue marble that 10 billion worked to ensure the stability of humanity from internal threats. Or at least, that was its goal. Now, the forces of humanity were stretched thin over the vast galaxy, clinging to survival. Krieger was an important discussion for today, but not the most important. Humanity has a weapon at its disposal, but hasn't ever used it. Jill hoped this day would never come, but in the face of total extinction, it was time to open Pandora's box. She only hoped that the rest of Congress would agree. The hovercopter touched down onto a landing pad. Jill stepped out and was escorted by a small army into the chambers of Congress. The thundering march of boots echoed over the polished marble floor. Grand columns and archways towered the sides of this proud structure, a testament to human engineering and architectural beauty. This giga-complex, constructed during the classical reemergence of the 24th century, was seen as a true gem of architectural greatness. Now the building was over 500 years old, yet still looked as new and impressive as it was on day one. The march came to a halt, and a massive blast door was slid open. The soldiers formed a corridor for Jill to walk through and stood at attention. Jill then entered the Hall of Humanity, a massive pyramid 5 miles across, made of a mixture of marble, glass, and steel, filled with gardens of green and millions of human representatives. The central chamber was cut into the continent below, holding space for over 5,000 council members who debated on issues core to the Union continuously for 5 centuries. Jill took a transporter to the central chamber, emerging at her console ring directly in the center of the massive structure. All conversation in the chamber ceased as she stood. The attention of all Congress was put solely onto her. Ladies and gentlemen of the Republic, today is a monumental day. We must decide the lengths to which humanity is willing to go for victory. Teetering at the brink of destruction, we find ourselves stronger and more capable than ever before. In the darkest night, we shine the brightest, a beacon of strength and courage outshining the stars themselves. Tonight is a very dark night. Countless have fallen to the forces of chaos. Too many have died senselessly and horribly. Those who have fallen to the alien menace are not forgotten. Legacies of the heroes gone will live on in our hearts. As such, we must ensure that our hearts remain beating in this hostile galaxy. It's time to weaponize faster-than-light travel, not because it is right, but because it is necessary. Humanity will not go quietly into the night. Our spirits will not fall. We must act swiftly and ferociously, lest the enemy may come up with any defense. It is time to unleash a weapon even we fear.